We got to open up with the handheld, and why I want to open up with it is literally from inception, when the chat started, when I posted, when I got ready to do the show, someone had made mention, again, no names here because we don't name names, regarding why do we think, or more specifically, why do I think that a handheld is happening sooner than later? Well, there's a couple of key points here. And I want to kind of get to that before we actually start breaking down why I think it's happening at the Game Awards. Now, if you recall, and I'm pretty damn good with dates, and I love evidence-based conversation because, again, we can't argue facts. If the facts are written, it's not an opinion piece, it's written facts, and things have been said, you can't challenge it because that is what's been said. So on February 15th of 2024, Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, and Matt Booty sat down with Tina Amini, and they had their what was called the Xbox Business Direct. And during the conversation, Sarah Bond specifically said that they had, and I quote, exciting hardware news that they were going to share during the holiday. Now, there have been a lot of pushback to this particular title, simply saying, does a Game Awards 2024 reveal make sense? Now, a lot of folks, and of course, this is the anti-Xbox community, said that the reveal already happened during June, and that was the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte, the diskless 1 terabyte, and the 1 terabyte S. And I don't claim to be the sharpest tool in the shed here, gentlemen in chat, but June is not the holiday. So I don't think that's what she meant. What I believe she meant was, well, what one big event happens every year that's watched by millions, and every year it gets bigger? Well, that's the Game Awards. That is Jeff Keighley's Game Awards. And in 2019, again, these are facts, folks, they shocked the world, but not only showing Hellblade 2, they showed off what the Series X was going to look like. I think it shocked Jeff Keighley himself. That's how taken aback he was. Just look at his face. Go back and watch the reveal. I don't think he knew about it. I don't care what he says. I'm telling you what I feel. Now, what happened a year later, Umbra and Jamie Moran? Well, the Series X released. Now, I don't know, and if you have copies of this rule book, please DM me with it, with pictures. If you have to, declassify some stuff, black it out with the magic marker, it's fine. I don't know where we've gotten into this mindset where the Xbox has to release their new console in 2026. And during that release, which is when that system is expected to happen, they have to have a second SKU or a SKU as a handheld. Where's the rules for that? Because, like I was telling to Jamie, and Jamie, I'm going to go to you first on this. The handheld market right now is getting super crowded. There are a lot of legit handhelds. I'm not talking about the stuff from China with no name that play as well as a Lenovo or a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally. I'm talking about those three main ones. It's starting to get crowded. The longer Xbox holds their cards, the more difficult it's going to be to sell this in a market that is already packed with PC-based handhelds. So my thought and theory, and why I decided to talk about this, is because of a comment, not only what Sarah Bond said about showing off new hardware in the holiday, is Phil Spencer himself literally said, I think we should have a handheld too. He doesn't say that publicly if he doesn't, if A, it's not going to happen officially, or B, it's already being worked upon. Now, I went to LA, hung out with a lot of people, some people that actually are making these things. And even though I can't express who I spoke to or exactly what we talked about, I can assure you that a handheld is in fact happening. Now, do I know that they're going to show that this year? No, that is an assumption. That is literally my opinion. Whether that happens or not, we'll see. But Jamie, let's get into this because again, Sarah Bond during the business meeting or the business direct, whatever you want to call it, said exciting hardware to show off during the holiday of 2024. We are rolling into the holiday in 2 months. The holiday wasn't in June. They showed 3 new pieces of tech of hardware of current gen hardware. That's not considered exciting. That's considered innovation. We're making some bigger SSDs. We're making things a little bit cheaper potentially. We're changing some colors. That's not exciting. So I think I'm onto something here. And I think that if you're gonna go and you're gonna shock the world with a handheld, the first Xbox handheld, you do it at the Game Awards. Let's get your hot take.
Yeah, so if you were to tell me 5 years ago, if anyone told me 5 years ago that Microsoft or Sony would be considering making a handheld, I would laugh. I would laugh because, for the longest time, Nintendo kind of had that market lockdown. But as we saw with the Steam Deck kind of made people realize, oh, yeah, we can make exciting new handhelds that aren't just Nintendo devices. So,
Yep.
like, everyone on Earth is now making a brand new handheld. You have the ROG Ally, which is popping off. Like, one of my friends has them. He can't stop talking about the thing. You have the Lenovo Go. There's like a ton of different like PC handhelds, and it's also filled the gap in a market where if you wanted to play PC games on the go, you had one option, and that was an overpriced gaming laptop. So like PC gamers, they have options now, which is great. But in that meantime, there's people been wanting a brand new Xbox handheld because people do want this stuff. Hell, I remember back in the original OG Xbox days that people were wanting an Xbox handheld. Back in the 360, same thing. PlayStation fans, they've been asking for a native handheld. And clearly Phil Spencer's interested. There's kind of a portable version of the Windows kernel out there, which is great because that'll work on those handheld devices. But if I remember correctly, the Xbox UI is a modified version of the Windows kernel. So, like, with Phil Spencer talking about how much they want to do a Windows, or I should say a handheld, it kind of makes sense. You know, we all know like the next gen consoles coming out in 2026, they have no need nor want to put out a mid gen refresh. Who like let's be real, there's no excitement, right? There's the forced excitement because the power narrative will be taken back, but we were told for 4 years that power doesn't matter. So like and for the past 4 years, I've never heard anyone really asking for a mid gen refresh, but for a handheld, that's exciting. That's different. We've never had that on Xbox before. So if you could take your Xbox games on the go, and the thing about Xbox is, which they have over PlayStation and even over Nintendo's, they have backwards compatibility with 3 previous generations. Not just ports, not even these modified little things, full on native backwards compatibility. So if you can make it so that you have your Xbox handheld and they announce it this year at the Game Awards, when Jeff Keighley isn't getting, noted on Twitter. It'll be exciting because it's something new, it's different. Like you said, the digital Xbox that's out now or coming out soon or whatever, like that's cool. It's an option. Storage options is cool, but like exciting new hardware, that's handheld stuff. And personally, I would love to see what a native Xbox handheld would look like made by the Xbox team. So if I could play my 360 games on the go with upgrades, like there's no other device on the planet that can do that. And like streaming's fun. People can stream games on the phone and all that stuff, but it's just not going to be the same experience. So like while you can get these little handheld attachable things for your phone and stuff and your tablet, that's a stopgap. I think it's time for a native Xbox handheld, and if they release it next year and announce it this year, that'll be perfect because they're still going to be able to sell these, house, home consoles and all the way through to 2026. Like the problem is with the way they announced the Xbox Series X is that they announced it in December 2029. Sorry, 2019. I'm all over the place today. Sorry.
That's
Um,
right.
they announced it in December 2019, and the Xbox One sales kind of fell off a cliff. Like people just stopped buying them because they thought, well, we may as well just wait. But why not? You're going to save up for a brand new, powerful next gen console. But if they announce a handheld this year that releases next year, that doesn't really interfere with their console sales at all. It's
Nope.
a different thing altogether. And then they release their next gen console in 2026, so they have new hardware and existing hardware out in the wild, satisfying different markets. And
Yes.
I think it would just work. And like, look, the PlayStation 5 Pro, we don't know what's going to happen with that. It may be a success, it may not be a success, but there's no excitement out there. But for a handheld, people have been asking for a handheld. Nobody wants a mid-gen refresh. Do you know this? Do you know what really annoys me about this mid-gen refresh situation? Why a handheld is exciting over that is because when this generation started, out of the gate, almost everything was 60 frames per second. Nobody was talking about frames actually, because
Right.
everyone was satisfied. And then in 2022, I think it was in the same month, October 2022, we had two video games. That was Gotham Knights and A Plague Tale Requiem. And those were 30 frames per second. And the second those games were revealed to be 30, all of a sudden, people lost their marbles. They're like, we need new hardware. We need brand new hardware so we can get 60. And I was telling people that is nonsense because back in the 360 generation, what happened? We got games throughout the entire generation that looked better than the previous games in that series. We had better performance in those games. It's because developers optimized for the bloody hardware. This time around, we're not getting that. People are wanting to rely on more hardware just to brute force it. And what happened with A Plague Tale Requiem? Like 3 months after launch, it got a 60 FPS update because they bloody optimized it. There's no excitement about around a mid-gen refresh because we don't need them. But a handheld, that's a completely different thing. People would love a handheld. So I think on the Xbox side, I think it's quite possible we will see it announced this year, and that's exciting. And I don't want to see a mid-gen refresh from Xbox. We don't need it this time. It's not like
No.
last generation when we had the 4K adoption of TVs in 2016 and 2017, and people were buying 4K Blu-rays, and it was exciting. That's not the same this time around. But with handhelds are popping off. Like the Steam Deck basically did it, you know,
Yes.
and it proves that if you aren't Nintendo, you can have success. And I think Xbox has been looking at Steam Deck, ROG Ally, and looking at all those sales and the amount of people talking about these consoles online. And I think Microsoft wants in on that money.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why. And again, the simple fact is they're watching other handhelds be sold out when they come out, and they're all selling very well. The Lenovo is selling very well. The Steam Deck is selling very well. The bigger model that came out a year later, same thing for the ROG Ally and the ROG Ally X. They're all selling very well. Microsoft wants in on that, but you see, Umbra, there's other reasons why they want in. And it's probably because they don't have a very large presence in the Asian market, which has become heavily mobile, heavy PC, and now, well, handheld has come back in a big way. And they're getting their PC experience on their handheld, but we know the handhelds are selling well there. Now, if you're Xbox and you're trying to make a splash in a region that will not buy your box, but potentially will buy a handheld. Now, right now, they don't have a StarCraft. But what if, Umbra, a new StarCraft is announced? Because we know that they're working on it. They may not have said anything. They understand the RTS market is massive right now. And just look at what they're doing. Our history untold is upon us. Now that's PC only, not Xbox yet. But you've had a ton. Frostpunk is happening. You've had one of the other what was the name? What was the name of the other RTS that just came out like 2 weeks ago? It scored really well. Xbox is super happy with the way with its reception. So if you release a new StarCraft, I'm sorry to say, the Asian market would eat it up. And if you had a matching handheld, forget about it. It'd be ridiculous. So, but let me reel this back in, Umbra. Why do I think there's going to be a handheld reveal this fall? Well, it's because of what Sarah Bond said. And she said holiday, which wasn't June. She said exciting, exciting hardware news coming this holiday. Well, what could be exciting? Now, I don't think they're going to show off what the next Xbox is going to look like because I don't think they know what the Xbox looks like right now, like they did with the X. But that's a different thought and theory when it comes to the handheld. It is a market that is hot right now, and if they do what they did with the Series X, that means we'd get a reveal at Jeff's show and then a release next year for holiday. And next year is expected to be a banger of a year, just like this year for Xbox first party. And if you can have legitimately, and I'm talking, I'm putting myself on the stand here. If you give me a handheld that's boots up like my Xbox does, that's underneath my TV right now, you have me hook, line, and sinker. And there are a lot of people in this chat right now saying, yep, sell me an Xbox Game Pass handheld, and I'm freaking in. And if you're gonna pique the interest of your brand, which is in third place right now, you do it on the biggest stage. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, boom. I mean, you dressed it up well, I think. Overall, as far as uh you talking about like general journalist perception, I suppose, and how they tried to twist it or whatever.
Yep.
That's that's one thing. And I try not to put too much onus on paying attention to what they say. I know PC Gamer is bad at it. They do it often, I've seen. Uh I know there's another one. I don't want to keep naming names, I suppose. But they I've seen them do some things. I know Cloveril called them out on it, and kudos to him for doing so. And I thought the header was weird too. It's like, what do you mean save it? Like it did well. We're not in a Concord situation here.
Yeah, we're gonna get in. Actually, I'm gonna lead with that. That's again, it's a head scratcher, and he's supposed to be above board, and to me that just lowers him. We'll get into who said that in a second, but please continue.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd. But as far as for the handheld, I think Jamie hit on a lot of great points. I mean, as far as what it could be as far as the handheld, yeah, I do believe it's legit. I do believe it's a real thing, and I think that's kind of it could at least be kind of that killer app that Xbox would need to kind of gain or grab a few people. And I think they might be using that for one because of the growing market of handhelds and list Windows versions of handhelds, especially. Shout out to my rock goons, but also too is just it's a lot of flexibility there. I mean, one of the thoughts I had, and I talked to Kay about this and asked him, well, how can they go about doing it if they have a handheld that is less powerful than the standard version, right? The base, the Series X in this case version of next gen. And I said, is there a way to like have any proprietary type of thing they can plug it into? Like if they dock it, would that cause it to be at least as at performance great as the I guess the hardcore version, if you will, or the premium console, if you will? And they were like, well, um, not really necessarily that. I forgot some of the reasoning behind it, but what they can do and what the Windows type handhelds allow, for instance, the ROG Ally allows for you to plug in a eGPU to the ROG Ally, and you can. I'm sure they would allow for this on that device as well if it is in fact legit. And so I can go from anywhere up to maybe plugging in a 3080 or something like that,
Yes.
or I'm not sure what it would allow up to, but you can plug up a higher eGPU and essentially have yourself a little makeshift PC. You know what I mean? A real one. And so there's room for that right there. I like the idea of that. I was responding to a PTK the other day, and he said, "What were my dream specs?" Now I started listing all type of crazy stuff, but I think if they gave us a screen comparable to the ROG Ally, which is a 1080p screen, IPS, 120 hertz, I believe, they gave us that. Gave us a good solid battery, 80 watts rather, battery. Just things comparable to the ROG Ally X, I suppose. Uh, and I guess keep it at a decent price point, which I still kind of believe that with the Pro coming in at 700, the next gen might start around that way as well. I'm wondering how it's going to stack up. But if they did, I mean, that would be the same price point as a ROG Ally essentially. So I'm interested in seeing how they're going to approach it, if they're, because PlayStation is not subsidizing anymore when it comes to the Pro. So I'm wondering how Xbox is going to approach that, if they're going to try. And I've said this before, I had people that disagree, but I wonder if, since they haven't quite sold to profit the Series X and such, will they decide to kind of eat the cost a bit? That's what I'm interested in seeing, how they approach that. But yeah, the handheld it will be dope for so many reasons to be shown off at the VGAs. They did the same, obviously, with the Series X when they did the announcement. This will be a nice way to cap off the year and say, hey, this will be available by 2026 or something like that, or whatever. And that'll be the start of the next gen. I like the idea of it a lot. I mean, it also could always just be the case that we don't see anything until next year or whatever. But I definitely do want to see it, or see that it's actually true. I've had a few people who are behind the scenes talking to some people, and they are also alluding that it's legit. By the way, I can't say who, but it's other people saying the same thing I've heard in different circles as well. So I believe it's legit. I don't see, and we've been hearing this for the better part of late last year, I would say, maybe.
Yep.
So this is it's something I can definitely see being a real thing. Yeah, and I mean, it's a lot of positives I think that comes with the idea of us having the handheld for Xbox. For me, seeing how now talking about the PC situation, I'm gaming a lot on the PC. One way that Xbox can definitely get me to say, you know what, I'm going to invest in this, is to have something like a nice handheld. If they put out a decent handheld in the market, that's something that can definitely catch my eye, that I can see myself, getting behind. I don't know if I necessarily need the premium console, depending
Right.
on what it looks like. Maybe I might change my mind and what the specs are, but if I have a handheld version, to me that's a bit of a game changer. You know what I mean? I can do much more with that, taking it on the go and things like that. So that works out in a lot of ways for me, versus anything else. So I like the idea. I'm just wondering how they're going to tackle it. Of course, if they're going to have Steam enabled, like we've been hearing, all those things are W to me. So just get the price point right. Like you say, showcase it during a showcase event like the VGAs or award, should I say, and should I say, and then yeah, that would be, man. I think it would land well, and I think it's a good kind of, and I know maybe it shouldn't be seen this way, but it's kind of a good counter to kind of gain a lot of eyes on your device after we've heard about the Pro and everything, and the Pro will have released by this point. So
Yep.
it's kind of their, hey, this is what we got going on in the future. This is what next
The
gen is starting, blah, blah,
counterpunch.
blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see that being a positive if they do it that way.